To the extreme left or the extreme right?
Viscerally makes me often want to punch them more. Because they're just so often like anti-common sense. So they just insist on championing things that are really about them, but they have to feel like they're social justice warriors. You know, they have to. It's very important for them to feel like they're the good people. And by telling us that we're all bad, that's how people want to voice their opposition to what's going on in any administration. They're not happy with this, they're not happy with that. That's the way to show it. I mean, the Democrats are going to have to work really hard to figure out how they're going to blow this one.
Bill Maher is back, and this time he's not holding anything back. The far left has experimented with countless ways to make the party more appealing to everyday Americans. Yet none of it seems to truly resonate. Maher believes he understands exactly why the DNC continues to struggle, and he spells it out clearly in this video. If you're ready for sharp political commentary and unfiltered takes, hit subscribe and let's get straight into it.
So I would like to have a strong Democratic candidate to get things back to a little bit of normal.
Is Newsom the strongest?
He is right now. I mean, again, California, a lot of crazy stuff in this state. We know better than anybody, you know. If somebody breaks into your house and you shoot them, you have to worry that you're going to go to jail.
Right.
You know, lots of stuff like that. Homeless on the streets. I mean, and that's not just California. I've seen a number of people have died in New York, homeless on the street, because somehow they got it into their heads that the way to treat the homeless compassionately was not to get them off the streets. You know, us old school liberals, when we used to talk about this issue, the compassionate thing to do was to make sure they got off the streets, not to protect them in their pristine environment underneath a bridge.
Bill Maher suggests that Gavin Newsom might be one of the Democratic Party's strongest potential contenders to regain national power, but he comes with significant political baggage. Earlier in the discussion, Maher openly stated that Newsom has aligned himself too far left to attract broad mainstream support, and he floated the idea that a shift toward the center may be necessary. The message is obvious. If Newsom does not reconsider some of his more progressive, woke positions, his prospects in the 2028 presidential race could be limited. Maher also pointed to California's ongoing challenges under Newsom's leadership, including widespread homelessness and deteriorating street conditions, as serious obstacles. He argued that Newsom must both recalibrate his political image and produce measurable improvements on these urgent issues. Without real results, his White House ambitions could remain out of reach.
You know, I think old school liberals would like to see a candidate in the Democratic Party who has the strength to disassociate himself from a lot of the stuff that made Donald Trump attractive to people who didn't necessarily like him so much, but just said, you know what, his brand of crazy, yeah, I'm going to go with that over their brand of crazy.
Bill Maher contends that it's not only Gavin Newsom who should rethink progressive ideology. In his view, the Democratic Party as a whole needs to reassess its direction and create distance from its far-left flank. Maher argues that many voters struggle to connect with the tone and priorities coming from that side of the party. To them, elements of the woke agenda appear overly ideological and detached from daily concerns. Whether the topic is cultural flashpoints or economic policy, some Americans perceive the messaging as symbolic rather than solution-oriented. Maher cautions that unless the DNC adjusts its approach, it risks pushing away critical swing voters. He maintains that long-term success depends on addressing bread-and-butter issues like the economy and public safety, while avoiding positions that feel too far removed from the political center.
Another huge issue here in California and across the country is immigration. Now we're going to have a partial government shutdown over DHS funding. The Department of Homeland Security essentially not funded, at least part of it now, going forward for the foreseeable future. Is that the right fight for Democrats? And where do you think that should go?
Well, I think ICE and the border people already have the money.
Right.
So no. So I would guess that's not a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
They say that's the only leverage that they have.
Yeah. I mean, again, the leverage they have is to win the next election. I mean, to
Maher maintains that Democrats currently hold minimal leverage against Republicans, who control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. With that level of authority, Republicans largely dictate the legislative agenda, leaving Democrats with limited influence. According to Maher, the DNC's clearest path back to power is persuading voters in the next election cycle. However, he argues that their strategy is falling short. A major factor, he says, is the party's continued embrace of messaging that many Americans see as overly focused on cultural politics. Instead of concentrating on widely shared concerns such as economic stability, public safety, and healthcare affordability, Democrats appear caught in divisive debates. If they fail to recalibrate and broaden their appeal, their odds of regaining control could remain narrow.
Right. People want to voice their opposition to what's going on in any administration. They're not happy with this, they're not happy with that. That's the way to show it. I mean, the Democrats are going to have to work really hard to figure out how they're going to blow this one.
Maher also points out that historically, the party in power often faces setbacks during midterm elections. On paper, that dynamic suggested Democrats might have had a favorable opportunity to make gains. The political environment appeared to offer a chance to rebuild momentum and expand their influence. Yet critics argue that the party frequently struggles to capitalize on advantageous moments. Internal divisions and controversial policy debates can distract from broader voter outreach. Maher suggests that continued alignment with highly progressive rhetoric may be limiting broader appeal. Until Democrats refine their message and focus more squarely on issues that resonate with a wide cross-section of voters, potential advantages could once again slip away.
Maher, let's talk for a moment about your relationship with President Trump, which has been interesting over the years. You well documented that you had this dinner with him at the White House,
very well
which you
documented.
talked about, which people have, talked about. What's the nature of your relationship with him now? What's that like?
Well, okay, well, first of all, the people who stopped watching my show because I had dinner with them are idiots, in my view. They just are. They're just
Right.
completely emotional because they're always asking the wrong question, which is like, how dare you have dinner with Donald Trump? The question should always have been, what did I say after I had dinner with Donald Trump? Now, if after I had dinner with Donald Trump, I came back to this show and was seduced by that dinner and stopped tearing him a new one every week, every time I thought he did something wrong, then you would have a case.
Maher also responded forcefully to critics who stopped watching his show after learning he had dinner with Donald Trump. He argued that many of those critics misunderstand the principles he stands for. For Maher, open dialogue is essential. He believes engaging with political opponents, even in informal settings, is necessary for meaningful exchange and progress. In contrast, he says some detractors prefer ideological comfort zones where opposing viewpoints are avoided. Maher views that mindset as a growing problem in modern political culture, where polarization often overshadows discussion. By defending his willingness to converse across political lines, he underscores his broader argument about the importance of debate in a divided era.